Good evening, I'm Cynthia Ng. You are tuning in to AWANI tonight. Government promises to create more permanent positions for contract medical officers over the next 4 years. And a closer look on the property sector. Will it emerge from the pandemic slump in 2022? More on that in a bit. The newly formed Parti Bangsa Malaysia or PBM will be contesting in the upcoming Johor state election. Its information chief Zakaria Abdul Hamid says that the party would be contesting 2 seats in the polls scheduled for March 12th.
He added that the party will announce the seats to be contested and the candidates' names before nomination day on February 26. PBM is the latest political party to announce its participation in the Johor state election. The party was launched on December 21st last year, following approval by the Registrar of Societies to change the name and the constitution of the Sarawak Workers' Party. The party is led by Julau MP Larry Singh and Tebrau MP Stephen Chong, both of whom were previously with PKR.
The Health Ministry will start vaccinating children against COVID-19 in schools throughout the country from Monday. Deputy Health Minister Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali says that vaccination centres or PPVs will be set up in all schools by February 14th.
Children aged 5 to 11 are eligible for the vaccine under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for Children or PIC Kids. The ministry targeted 70% or 2 million eligible children to receive the first dose within the first 2 months, while 2 other doses within 6 months of the implementation of PIC Kids. As of yesterday, almost 63,000 first doses have been administered to those in the age group nationwide.
Following persistent demand for more job security for contract doctors, dentists and pharmacists, the government today announced that it will allocate over 8,600 permanent positions over the next 4 years. For this year alone, the Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin says that the Cabinet has agreed to add over 4,000 permanent positions for these trainees who are currently only on contract.
Ini bukan soal doktor kontrak semata-mata, tetapi ini soal keperluan Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Kita memerlukan lebih ramai lagi pakar, lebih ramai lagi doktor. Dan kalau sekiranya kita tak bagi security of tenure kepada mereka, mereka akan tinggalkan servis. Mereka akan melalui tapisan awal dan proses ini akan dibuat secara telus, secara adil, tanpa pilih kasih, dan prosesnya akan diteliti dan akan diumumkan oleh Ketua Pengarah.
Year 3 of the pandemic and the rights of contract hospital cleaners have yet to be sufficiently addressed. Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests about protecting the welfare of these invisible frontliners. The government plans to issue special cards to foreign nationals residing for a long time in Sabah, including for their children. Home Minister Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin says that this is done to allow for proper identification and documentation.
He added that the idea was proposed by the Sabah government during a meeting on the management of foreigners in the state today. Hamza believed that the proposal can be approved in 3 months. He, however, stressed that the special card would not entitle foreigners to a permanent resident or citizenship status, but is primarily to identify that one is a non-citizen. After the proposal is approved, data collection process will be done to determine the number of recipients.
The police warns of a new scam where money can be stolen from bank accounts through Android package kit or a APK file link. Scammers could hack into a phone after the victim accessed an APK link when buying items online. Scammers would advertise items for sale on social media sites where interested buyers would then be asked to download and install an APK file containing a fake application to proceed with purchase. Victims were required to register with their personal and banking details, and with that information, scammers will then be able to transfer money from the victim's account without their knowledge. The police detected 5 cases so far, resulting in more than 58,000 ringgit in losses. More in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Malaysia's property market is expected to rebound this year, but the recovery hinges on the country's handling of emerging COVID-19 variants and the continuation of government assistance for the sector. We speak to Shailendra Nadan, Property Guru's country manager, on the segment's outlook.
We expect gradual improvements in the first half of 2022, but we do expect the second half to start to pick up the pace, especially once we see some economic stability in the endemic stage of COVID-19. We believe that that will improve the economic environment for property seekers. I think that's generally on the consumer side of things. Secondly, we also expect property players to embrace technology given the new norms. And innovative solutions are expected to be rolled out to deal with these changing situations. Virtual viewing, obviously, is one good example that we saw being rolled out in 2021.
Shailendra said that continuation of loan moratorium initiatives and the easing of the Malaysia My Second Home MM2H restrictions will help boost recovery and buyers' confidence.
Some of these programs that were in place in 2020 and also 2021, the home ownership campaign, for example, greatly contributed to the stability of the property market. And I believe consumers still want those programs to be in place. And it was also spurred by the government initiatives, like the moratorium on loan repayments as well. And those greatly supported the industry. Secondly, there is a huge group of unsold properties, high-end unsold properties in the country. And the easing of the Malaysia My Second Home program restrictions is going to greatly help spur the industry as well at the same time.
He underscored economic stability is the key factor to boosting market confidence.
There are these threats of new variants, and I think we need some level of confidence that, those things are being managed, and we move towards a truly endemic situation where we start to instill some confidence, not just with property buyers. This is the economy in general, right? So that plays a big role. Secondly, if you look at it from a consumer perspective, economic stability is very important. And in order for them to start opening up their wallet and start investing and coming back into the market.
Sweden has declared the pandemic over after moving to remove almost all of its restrictions and stop most testing for COVID-19. Its health minister, Lena Hallengren, also told local media that COVID would no longer be classified as a danger to society. However, some scientists are begging for more patience in fighting the disease as the pressure on the healthcare systems remain high. Swedish hospitals were still feeling the strain with over 2,000 people with COVID requiring hospital care. Free COVID testing was reduced earlier this month and effectively stopped from Wednesday, making it difficult to know the exact number of cases. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam apologized to residents who had to wait in line for a long time to get tested for COVID-19 or enter isolation facilities. A record number of new cases have left authorities scrambling. More than 1,000 COVID infections were recorded for the first time since the pandemic began, a worrying milestone for Hong Kong officials who are aggressively pushing for zero COVID. Writing on her Facebook page on Wednesday night, Lam said that the government was working hard to enhance capacity. Hong Kong has some of the toughest COVID restrictions in the world. Those who test positive are sent straight to hospital, and there are strict curbs on dining out and social gatherings. There are fears that the rising cases will overwhelm the health system. Hong Kong's isolation wards are already at 90% of their capacity, with cases expected to rise exponentially over the next few days. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says America is committed to doing everything it could to defend Ukraine from a possible invasion from Russia. Western leaders in recent weeks have engaged in multiple rounds of diplomacy in hopes of de-escalating the crisis.
Russia has repeatedly denied any plans to invade Ukraine despite amassing more than 100,000 troops at the border.
What we're committed to in the case of Ukraine is doing everything we can to defend Ukraine's territorial integrity, its sovereignty, its independence, which unfortunately is being challenged right now by Russia. If Russia chooses to renew its aggression against Ukraine, we've made clear, not just us, but countries throughout Europe and even beyond, that there'll be massive consequences.
Blinken is in Melbourne, Australia for a meeting with his counterparts from Australia, India and Japan. Meanwhile, Russian forces begin 10 days of military exercises with Belarus, their largest joint military drills in years, raising fears that Moscow is plotting a major escalation in the conflict in Ukraine. Belarus is a close ally of Russia and has a long border with Ukraine.
Elections in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh begins today, and the stakes are high. With a population of over 200 million, holding on to power in Uttar Pradesh is especially crucial for Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his ambition to win a third consecutive term in the 2024 national elections. The state also has outsized importance in the federal parliament, with lawmakers from Uttar Pradesh making up about 15% of total seats in the lower house. Modi's BJP is the world's largest political party and has a formidable election machinery and war chest. But it needs to win back the farmers, whose year-long protest against farm laws forced Modi to reverse the policies. It also needs to win the Muslims, which make up 19% of the state's population. Under the BJP's watch, disinformation and hate speech toward India's Muslim minority have soared. The election campaign is 1 month long and is being held against a backdrop of rising inflation, unemployment, and a third wave of COVID-19 infections. That is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. For all the latest news updates, head on to astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.